Hey guys, this is Mo, and this time we'll be covering a little different an aspect of Phantasya, namely the file management, the graphic files that you can use in your project and the format they need to be in order to work. Well, let's kick it off with the maps, shall we? First of all, we have the maps that, like we showed last time, we have a image file to store the map and how it will look, and a collision file. It will be pretty much exactly the same as the map and color every part you want as solid in any color other than black, and everything else will be painted black with 0 red, 0 blue and 0 green values. So over here you can see that you can use pretty much any image file. All you need to do once you get the image is just come to the program, click load map and navigate to your file. Once you do that, you also need to set the collision file again. There is pretty much no limit on either. You just need to make sure that the tiles are set in 16 by 16 manner of pixels, so the collision can be detected correctly. Other than that, you can use pretty much anything you want. Another thing about this is if you use the magenta color as the background, this is true to any graphic file you use in Phantasya for both maps and characters. If you use the magenta color as a background, the color is automatically translated as completely transparent when used in the game. So if you have a custom background that you set to the map for this, and your whole background here is set to magenta, that is the one that will be shown. Same as the characters, like you can see here, and maybe in one of these. Over here, once that pops up, you don't see all the magenta in the background, but just everything else. Okay, so that's that for the maps. Now let's talk about a little bit more about the characters. So, for a character in the game to be usable, you need to have the minimum requirement of 8 directions and have the same number of frames to them. You are free to use this in pretty much any manner that you want, and any number of frames of any size. In this example, we use the Mario file that we used. This is used with just 2 frames per direction and uses 8 directions. We have the up right, right, down right, down, down left, left, and up left. Each one uses 2 frames, each being of 32 on 32 pixels in size. You can use any size of frame you want and just adjust it correctly. On the contrary to that, you can also pretty much just take 1 frame and put it up if you want to use static objects without animation. This is used directly over here in our project as the coin block. Not this. Over here, as you can see, it only has 1 frame, and since it's set up, it'll be shown as just that one. Now, after the 8 directions, you can also add any number of extra animations you want that you can use with the play animation command. As you can see over here, just like in the coin block, we have the 1 frame that's used for the regular block on the game, but after that you can see your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames of the block breaking. This is used in the global event like we covered last time of the block. We use this in the play animation. As you can see, once we do that, we tell the game to call up from the second frame 5 frames ahead at a given speed and loops number that we want. So you can use this and as many other animation sequences as you want. Now, this is all nice and fun, but what if you want to animate differently in case we use the velocity acceleration, or if you want idling sprites without having to make a database, a global event to manage such? In such a case, we have this option right here to use the full animation set. Checking this option will tell the game to use the certain number of frames after the basic movement frames for various other reasons. This over here is the basic set of Mario of the 8 directions. However, this has many more frames to it. What it does here is it uses the same number of frames used for the regular movement that follow the regular movement as idling animation. In this case, we don't really need the up left, down right, or any of the diagonal movements for animation. We just use the right and left ones, since it's a platformer. However, if you're using the RPG top-down RPG genre style, you can use more frames, more directions than that. You might need the up and down ones too. Once we finish this, we also get another 2 sets of exactly the same thing for acceleration and deceleration. And kind of being lazy, I didn't really draw this, but just used an existing one that doesn't really have any use to it. However, in our project we don't really use this, so you don't see either of those. Now, also, for the lazy ones above you, not everyone might want to make their sprites themselves, so you can also search the web, but the style we used in Phantasya of the character set isn't really very common to have all your frames lined up like this. In which case, Phantasya also comes packed with a nice little tool that converts sprites. So, like I said, not a lot of sprite sets come packed like this in vertical manner of frame on top of frame, but rather you can find a lot of sprites over the web in this fashion of 4 directions with 3 frames each and the size of 24 pixels over 42. This is a very common formatting type that you might come across. What Phantasya allows you to do, in the Tools menu, you have the spritesheet converter tool. Once you click that and choose the file that uses that sprite, and a conversion would occur that will just take the sprite we showed earlier and break it down to the animation set that you can just use right away through there. It also converts it to 4 sprites to manage same format as the Phantasya ones. And like I said, exactly like the maps, the magenta type in the background is set to transparent automatically. So if you want the background of your character not to show up, that's the color you want to use. That's 252 of red, 252 of blue, and 0 of green in the RGB values. So that's it for this episode about the file formats you can use in Phantasya. I hope you have a nice one, guys.